Ignite Your Purpose, episode 123. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the new listeners we've got tuning in. Here we talk longevity through a healthy lifestyle. It's a mix of the mental, the physical, and the spiritual knowledge that Max and I have, and we like to share. It's the mind, body, soul trifecta. For those who don't know, below here we've got subscribe buttons. A bit further down on the notes, we've got our own apparel page. T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, get on there. Check them out. We like them. We hope you do too. Episode 123. Yesterday in the news, you may or may not have seen it, e-gaming was turned down as an Olympic sport. Believe it or not. Even if you can believe it was up there being
considered.
Considered. I understand it. It's Japan. It's that kind of thing. But Max and I, we're gonna sort of shoot the crow on all things Olympics and what should or shouldn't be a sport, or pros and cons of e-gaming. And yeah, come Max, roll with it, buddy.
First off, I mean, if you're hip to Twitch and all those things, man, it's massive. It's next level. It's the world's changed, and we either know it or we don't. Even for example, a lot of the gyms I go to now, when you used to finish a workout, you'd write stuff on the board, and that's almost like so old school now. You have to fill out, you have to hit an app, you have to put in your stuff, and you see the people who used to do it the old way writing on the board. They're just like, oh, what's going on, and why can't we have it the old way? And no different than sports, no different than with anything that's going on in technology. It's just the world is changing, and you either change with it, or we're going to end up being like an old grumpy male or female in a rocking chair going, "You remember back in the day, son?" It's just, to be honest, I do understand how massive that stuff is, but I can't quite comprehend how it would be an Olympic sport. Having said that, it must have so much attention that they considered it. That's next level, brother.
Yeah. First of all, if everybody thinks I'm winking at you, I got some crap in my eye today, so not checking out Max and giving him.
I thought you liked the showing of the skin.
Olympic sports. There's I've just jotted down a few headings of things that I would consider would be like the primary drivers for it being an Olympic sport or not, and then there's a few secondary parts, and then we'll whiz on something else. So obviously skill, balance, coordination, fitness, agility, speed, maybe tactical or some kind of knowledge awareness of the like I say, the tactics of a sport. And then I thought, in addition to that, we've got things like the access for people being able to play that sport themselves, or the viewing popularity on TV. How many people are going to watch this if it's an Olympic sport? So personally, I think tennis is right up there. I know it is an Olympic sport now, but I think tennis, you've got speed, coordination, agility, matchcraft, coordination, balance. You've got all that. So I think tennis is right up there.
Very popular.
Yeah. And then I started thinking about e-gaming and what it brings to the maybe there'll be a lot of access. Everybody can get online now, can play computer. Viewing, I'm pretty sure you could. We watch poker and they make that look quite exciting these days. So I'm sure you could do that with Death and Destruction and game of whatever the games are at the moment. I don't play particularly myself. But then I thought about the sort of the antithesis to that, the opposites, and it's very sedentary. It's not going to help the global obesity epidemic. It's very insular. Generally, you're playing on your own. You're not kind of part of a team. So I was just thinking about these things, and then something came up in conversation this evening when I was chatting to a friend about it. They said they've got a friend, professional lady friend in another part of the world, and she's well into gaming. And I believe there was a game where you kind of drive down the roads and you kind of go, up the pavement and you take people out. And she said that she once found herself considering it. She was driving to work, went, oh, some people on the curb there, I could just pop up and 600. So then you've got the psychological and the sort of the programming element of these kind of games. But I'm just throwing some ideas in there. Do I think it should be an Olympic sport? Not unless you've got to run around the block first, climb up a rope 3 times, serve some aces in tennis, then get onto your computer whilst balancing on a yoga ball, and then you throw some coordination and stuff in there.
It definitely brings up, with anything else in the world, there's pros and cons, right? There's going to be people for and against, the right, the left, all that bullcrap. But it definitely shows where we're getting to as, the 21st, 22nd century, 23rd century. We're in the future. We're in Star Trek land. We're in, what was that stuff called? The Jetsons. We're there. You know what I mean? When they're considering video games for the Olympics, that's next level. But it's no different than, my parents probably when Elvis came out thinking that was too crazy, or maybe it was my grandparents, whoever it was. You know what I mean? Yeah, the iPhones, it's a whole new world. Like, you can get discovered on Twitch, you can make money there, you can, these social media platforms, if you can get good enough and know your stuff, you can get discovered, you can make a living, you can.
Yeah.
It's next
and don't get me wrong, there is skill involved in it. It's not a
100%
chance. It's a game like poker. Poker's a game of skill.
Totally.
These games, it's hours and hours and hours of practice. So
my thing always comes back to, and I always said this about a sport like golf. People always ask me about golf, and maybe I'm not old enough, or I just don't get the game. But I always thought, those dudes who are on the PGA Tour, and they're not like, on the Masters, but the guys who are in their prime. Imagine they did, and I'm not saying CrossFit, but imagine and maybe some of them do. I don't know. I don't follow the sport that much. Yeah. But imagine they worked out. They did crazy stuff to be like crazy strong, and agility and flexibility and yoga, and they were just Spartans on the golf course. I wonder what that sport would be.
They are now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, you got the old boys, but there are some people on the tour, and that's it. They've got their mobility, their flexibility, their strength. And
I do know one guy's always benching. I know that. I heard a guy's always benching before he goes out. But, getting into the, health's got to come first, man. Like, yeah, and you said maybe some of these gamers are healthy, and I don't want to condone them all, but in general, it looks like a unique. I think of cellar dwellers, and that's probably not the truth. You always, just like some people might think of certain things as a cult or whatever, but, I guess time will tell.
Absolutely right. That's it from us. Good night. We've just rambled tonight. We haven't really given you any takeaways apart from to raise a question, have a conversation, get a discussion going with your peers, and see what comes up. But from me to you, a quick reminder: just hit the subscribe. Go and check out the t-shirts. They're a couple of bucks, $20 maybe, but a piece of history in the making, maybe, perhaps.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the listeners online. The audio's taken off. We appreciate that. Keep showing up. We'll keep being here, and we just appreciate you guys. It's that simple.
Cheers, good night. Bye.